In this video, we're going to talk about how to build left-hand technique for El Toro. But if you haven't watched my video on bowings, you should probably watch that one first and make sure that your students are bowing right first before you even worry about the left hand. The left hand is flashier, but the right hand is much more important. So go back and watch my videos on bowings if you haven't already. Don't cheat and just skip ahead. In the teaching companion, we go over the art of woodshedding. And we stage all of these in 3 ways. First, we practice the bowings and we make sure that everything is uniform. And you're going to start slow and you're going to ramp this up as fast as they can until their technique breaks down, and then you're going to stop. You don't want them to go on once their technique breaks down, because then you start practicing bad technique. Remember, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. So they will permanently have bad technique if you let them practice that way. So slow it down. Once they get these bowings, what we're going to do is we're going to practice the bowings with the string crossing. And they're going to need to learn some string crossings, and there's different string crossings for every pattern. So where do they cross strings? Well, that depends on the different pattern. And so once they get the bowings uniform and they get the string crossings, then and only then are we going to add the left hand. And again, we utilize the art of woodshedding. We start very slow. We're going to start slow, very slow. So slow that your students might wonder if the class period will end before they make it through that 4-bar exercise. And then we're going to take our metronome and we're going to increase it 1 beat per minute, no more. And we're going to keep doing this until their technique breaks down. In other words, until they can no longer accurately perform the technique required to play each one of these exercises. That means it's time to stop and pick it up again another day. It's important to teach the bow first and then the left hand. I know a lot of teachers like to just say, all right, we're going to learn the left hand on this. Let's just pluck it and learn the music that way. I used to teach that way, all right, guilty. But the more I teach, the more I understand that the bow is the driver for technique. And so we teach the bow first, and then we add the left hand. Also, when woodshedding, I don't like to be the one more time teacher, one more time. You know, don't do that, okay? What I say is 2 more times, 2 more times, 2 more times. Okay, that's much better. Again, play it slow enough to where your students can use the proper technique. You want them to practice and learn the right technique, which means they need to play slowly. If you practice slowly and they learn the right technique, you're going to be rewarded later. If you practice sloppily and they learn the wrong technique, you're going to pay for it later, because you're going to pull out a piece that's a little harder than El Toro and they're not going to be able to do it because they haven't learned the technique. So develop that accountability in your classroom. Just as we practice right hand only, we might want to also practice left hand only. So if we do these exercises, we might want to take a moment to do what I call finger tappers. And if you want an example of how to do finger tappers, go to season 1, episode 4. I have a demonstration video on finger tappers. What the finger tappers are going to do is, if they're tapping the string firmly enough to where they can hear the notes, it's going to teach them to play with adequate finger pressure. And when the tempo increases, it's going to help them out a lot. Because a lot of students, when they're playing too quickly, the finger pressure starts to lighten, and then here, everything is bowed. But if they have anything with a slur in it, they start to play some Dvorak or whatever, and they have these slurs and they're not using enough finger pressure, it's just going to sound really muddy. And if they start playing in upper positions and stuff and they don't have that finger pressure, it's not going to be good. So again, this is a technique that's really going to pay off in the future. Develop that left-hand strength, develop that finger pressure, and on fast techniques, and they're really going to be rewarded for it later. Another thing that your students and you will be rewarded for later is if you're teaching vibrato in your classroom. There are a lot of places in here where we can utilize vibrato, and vibrato is very important because it provides accountability for the left hand. Okay, if they're playing like this with the wrists up, you can't really play too well with vibrato for cellos and basses if the elbow's dropping or something along those lines, or if the shoulder isn't where it's supposed to be. It's difficult to vibrato. So it provides accountability of the left hand shape, making sure that our fingers are round, Our position, our setups are all reinforced through teaching vibrato. It makes the students hold their instruments right and makes them have a good left-hand shape. Otherwise, they can't play with vibrato. If you take away anything from this video, slow down the music and insist upon proper technique, all right? Your students will thank you for this later. And if they don't, your contest judges definitely will. In the next video, I'm gonna go over the common problems that I hear when I'm a contest judge with orchestras playing El Toro. You know, the problems are not unique to your orchestra. We hear them in everybody's orchestra, and that's fine, but I'm gonna give you some strategies on how to overcome those difficulties. So I hope to see you in the next video.